Well, the foundation of all spirituality has to be the nature of God. What are you worshipping? If you don't know that is a false premise on which you're worshipping, then the rest of it will be also false. Can you imagine the extent of the ignorance which will say such a thing about their God? They are allowed to kill for the name of their God. Any metaphysical truth is of no use to the ordinary man unless it can be translated and is applicable to his daily life.
Namaskar, this is Harshit Bharadwaj, and today I'm honored to have Mataji from Rishikesh, Vanmali Ashram. And it's an honor to have her on board because I have been studying and reading all about you, Mataji, and I haven't had the privilege yet to meet you in person. But it feels like the amount of work that you've done, like a rishi of Sanatan Dharma, it's just it's we are all honored to have someone like you consistently doing the
Thank you.
work. So please welcome to the show. I would start right away, Mataji, by asking uh, what's the core message of your teaching?
My
What's
basic teaching is always,
the gist?
teaching is always based on the Bhagwad Geeta. Because of all the scriptures that we have, they're wonderful scriptures, all of them, Upanishads and so on. But it's only the Bhagavad Gita which actually tells you how to run your daily life. It gives you a very, very practical guidance because the knowledge of the Brahman, knowledge of the Supreme is, of course, very important. That is the foundation. There is no doubt about it. But we cannot live our daily life on that. And that's why the Bhagavad Gita is both Brahma Vidya and Yoga Shastra. That is rammed in and after every chapter. Brahma Vidya, Yoga Shastra. Brahma Vidya, Yoga Shastra. So, any metaphysical truth is of no use to the ordinary man unless it can be translated and is applicable to his daily life. That is why I prefer to speak on the Bhagavad Gita, that because that's up a pressing need of today. People are depressed, the people are sad, people want to know how to make their lives better. Even the materially they're so much higher and so
Disconnection
much
away.
wealth is there, yet internally they are zero. So this is the thing which we have that's our desire is to make that into a better state of affairs, and that's why our whole teachings are based on the Gita. Yeah,
I'm hoping that this podcast reaches people far beyond Bharat and international people, people who are warming up to the idea of our culture and Sanatan Dharma. Metaphysical ideas and teachings in Bhagavad Gita. Metaphysical idea. How are these ideas
exactly.
useful to a common ordinary
Exactly,
person?
that's the main thing, teaching of the Gita. Yeah. Well, the foundation of all spirituality has to be the nature of God. What are you worshipping? If you don't know that, if that is a false premise on which you're worshipping, then the rest of it will be also false. So the nature of God in the Sanatan Dharma, as you know, is that of Brahman. The supreme force is Brahman, which is spaceless, formless, timeless, and totally incomprehensible to the mind, because the mind can only think in the level of time, space, and causality, desha, kala, and nimitta. Only they can only think in that way. So it cannot possibly think of a formless and timeless and spaceless entity. It is because of this that various gods were made by the rishis. Now, because with if any form, all forms are its form. Let's first of all let's realize that any form that you can think of, whether it's a bird in the sky or a worm on the earth, it's its form because there is no other form than its form. The formless can take on infinite forms and has taken infinite forms. Therefore, the Rishi said they gave us special type of forms with sounds and mantras and so on, by which we could focus our mind. Because otherwise, it's a homogeneous whole. We can't focus on anything. As I said, if you have a teacher has a blackboard and tells the children to focus on the blackboard, where will they focus? But if he puts a white circle in the middle, immediately the focus will be on that. Similarly, these different gods are given to us so as to enable us, according to our personality, mind you. That was another great psychological the thing they did. We could choose anything according to our own personality, focus on that with the understanding, very important. This is very important. With the basic understanding that all forms are its forms. And in order to make us understand that even more, what they did not, and it was not an anthropomorphic god that they asked us to worship. There are anthropomorphic gods. We have avatars, which are real characters who have walked and played and did their this thing in this holy land. But apart from that, we have a monkey god, we have an elephant god, we can we worship the river, we worship a mountain, we worship trees. This why is this? Because we worship a cow in order to make us understand that energy is in everything. It is not limited to the small pitiable little human form alone. It is to be found in everything, and we should so rise up to mental ability to see that in everything. That is real spirituality. That is real worship. So that is the basis of the. But as I said, basis
Mm.
has to be this because without that understanding, it will be just sheer idolatry.
Yes.
With this understanding, you can worship anything
Mm.
according to your own personality.
I'll come back to again a fundamental and simplistic premise of why spirituality. I am happy in my life. I'm earning $1 million a year. I have a luxury car and I have all the means of so-called happiness in my life. Yes, I do get sad, and there are unfortunate events in lives that keep on happening. But overall, there is no complaint. So why spirituality?
This is the whole point.
That's
I mean, the question is why not spirituality? because because
yeah.
even though you have all the accoutrements which are necessary for the so-called happy life, still are you totally happy? Is the question. We are not because we live in a dualistic world. Nobody can be totally happy. Nobody can be totally unhappy either. So, because we live in a dualistic world, this we are always on the seesaw of our emotions. So, if you might, as long as you think you are quite okay with it on the seesaw, that's fine. Keep swinging up and down. No, nobody's prompting you to do anything else. But sometimes in the evolution of a human being, the question arises: why am I doing this? Is a vain and futile sort of a thing. I keep on running like a, like a, what do you call it? A squirrel we put in a cage which keeps on revolving. So we keep on running and running and running and running and reaching nowhere. Yeah,
The
exactly.
literal
It's
rat
a
race.
rat race.
Yeah,
So then, when a time comes
the
in the
literal
evolution of a
rat
human
race.
being that such a question arises, that is the beginning of spirituality. Yeah.
I understand it, and I've heard this question from a lot of my Westerner friends and even people in our country. So I am 44, and it's so awesome that you're working with a lot of young kids, and they're coming to you. And so I think when we are young, these things do not matter much because we are mostly in the prime of our lives, and most things look good. And as we move on to the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, that shallowness of the life lived with no meaning and purpose, that comes up, and then often it's too late. Even though in our system we have the vanprasth, the fourth
Third,
ashram of our
third.
life, which nobody now follows. I realize that's probably the reason for it. Now you've lived your life. Now you ponder upon the spirituality. So it's what I'm trying to say is that it's often too late for most modern people, and they come to it too late, and then they are wondering, what have I done wrong? What's the emptiness? I've achieved everything in my life and I still don't feel happy anymore. And like the seesaw you mentioning, now it is mostly just the downward slide, and there is nothing, no amount of drugs or money or means of happiness can make me happy anymore. And that's where the Western world and a lot of our consumerist world is trapped in. And then they recourse to all these kinds
Exactly.
of not good things like drugs and recreational drugs and all those stuff. So how important it is to start early, and how do you inspire youth? Because at that point, I remember when I was 21, I would it would be very difficult for me to understand spiritual aspects of life, because I had so many other things to do in life at that point, so many other distractions.
So,
So how do you
so first of
get
all, let me, the
young
question you
kids to
asked,
be
it
inspired?
is never too late. Nothing is ever too late. Okay.
Yes,
So, and
yes.
nature has its own way of blossoming. We cannot force a flower to
Mm,
bloom in a few, and except if you use that technology of, slow, something. You just can't do it. Everything in nature is slow, but sure. So we are all evolving at different paces. Some children have amazingly, nowadays you find, due thanks to, maybe always it was like that, but thanks to modern technology and, media, we find such small, precocious children who are talking deep philosophy. That's amazing, isn't it? So how do they do that? So there is a method. Nature takes its own time to evolve. If in childhood they don't, we can only tell them. Our duty is to give this younger generation, ideas which they have not been open to previously, because they were totally under a Western culture, which is a consumerist society, and all they were interested in trying to get happiness out of the objects of the world. And that doesn't, that they only after a long time you find that it doesn't. But tell them to think for it. Just think, how much happiness can you get from an object? Does that object have happiness in itself? If that object had happiness in itself, it should be equally applicable and give happiness to everyone. You like chocolate ice cream or gulab jamun. It should equally be wonderful for every human being on earth. Is it so? No, isn't it? And again, even if you do like it, how much of it can you have? The first, second, third, fourth may be good. But if you come to the 10th or 11th and 20th, you are bringing it out. So the same object, which you thought pleasurable before in the beginning, gives you absolute nausea in the end. So object is guiltless. The object does not hold happiness or unhappiness. It comes from your mind. So if the mind is controlled, you can have reasonably happy life. It is the mind is that it's like wearing these glasses. When you have these games nowadays, which are actually modern technology is telling us what the truth of our culture. When you wear these head phones, you're in a new world, and you can do what you like. But you have to follow the rules of that game. Then you can do. If not, out you go. So actually, modern technology is giving us these ideas. And so these children have to be taught that there is another way of life by
mm,
which you can
mm,
avoid this terrible depression, despondency, and suicidal tendencies which a lot of young
mm,
people have today. What is it due to? They are intelligent young people. Make them think for
mm,
themselves. That is our duty. That is what we try to do here. And I assure you, it's a tremendous success. I must say, every single young person who has come here, they've said that they've changed their lives. And even though abroad, those who have never seen me also, they say that, these words have changed their lives. So that is what we're here for. That's what we're here
mm.
for.
I'm sure.
To make them understand that
I'm sure.
happiness does not lie
Yes.
in the objective world. Happiness lies in themselves. And happiness is
Mm,
something which everybody craves for and which
mm,
is never everlasting.
mm.
These are
Yes.
the things which
Yes. That's the
Sanatan
nature of.
Dharma has been teaching our young people from Vedic times. That's what we have been taught. That is, it's our duty to teach at least
Mm,
this
mm.
generation the actual, way of spirituality.
That's awesome. Acha, okay. Might sound silly to you, but like you said, nature has its own way and nature has its own timing. When and I understood this concept. It's a very simplistic concept, but it took me, I don't know, 40 years of my life to understand this. That we say in our my mother, my grandmother. I've heard it from a lot of people, elderly people in my house. That in Hindi they used to say कि आम तभी गिरेगा जब पकेगा. So the fruit would only fall when it's ripe enough. And it's a very simple statement. I think it encapsulates
Right.
what you just said, the nature its own way, and there is a timing for it. And it's not going to happen before the fruit is ready. So don't you think there is a role of prarabdha and the sanskar of parents and all that in preparing a person to bring it to that periphery
Yes.
where the person is
Yes,
ready
yes, yes.
to understand
Prarabdha karma
these
is
ideas?
very
Yes.
important. The prarabdha karma is what has made us into this now. That's why we are sitting here. You're talking to me. I'm talking to you. All this according to prarabdha karma. And when the prarabdha karma, it will also take them to the right person and give them the right knowledge at the right time. So the knowledge should be there. The right teachers will be there.
Hmm.
That's why we
Hmm.
are trying to provide that. Before did not have that.
Hmm.
Such a lot of
Yes. Yes.
gurus and so on thing are there nowadays. So pseudo gurus or real gurus or
Hmm.
whatever. But whatever it was, our dharma had
Hmm.
this in. Basically, we know the truth is always available. Other cultures they
Yeah.
did not have that. Here we've always had that. So that's one great
Yes.
advantage. The very fact that you've been born in this land means that you have already attained a certain degree of evolution.
Hmm.
Because this is a land, holy
Hmm.
land, really
Hmm.
speaking. I mean, though whatever others may not believe it, but it is the truth. Every country has its own, has a karma of its own also, and a duty towards the world. And our duty is to provide spirituality to the whole world.
That's interesting. That's a very interesting idea. I completely believe that. That's why in the beginning I told you I came back after living in England for 8 years, and at the time I didn't know what, why, and what, and after it's been 14 years now, so I often joke that the one vas of 14 years is now beginning to end, and now I'm starting to understand why I came back. When I was in England, I was approached by a group of evangelists trying to convert me to Christianity. I didn't know at that time. And there is the context to this anecdote is how strong our cultural foundations are. I was 20 and I was born in a Brahmin family, not very conservative, but we had the daily puja, the daily dhyan, the at least twice a day, kirtan bhajan, and Satyanarayan Puja on every Purnamashi, fasting on Amavasyas. My mother would keep fast on Ekadashi. So, without forcing a lot of things, we were still practicing a lot of things unknowingly. So, I was 20, I was approached by these group of people, in a very friendly manner. They took me, I went to church for 6 months and I would pray there. And even after 6 months, I was like, um, it doesn't matter. I am not changed. Deep down, I am still. When I went to Krishna temple, I used to go to Krishna temple every Tuesday. And after 6 months, when I asked them, "Would you come to the Krishna temple?" and they were like, "Are you not a Jesus lover anymore?" I said, "Yes, I am a Jesus lover too now. I like the idea of Jesus, but Krishna is. You can't take him out of me. I mean, how? What can you do?" And at that time, I felt now. At that time, I was like, okay, it's natural. But now when I think about it, it's incredible. It's just shows the strength of our culture that was so deeply
Mm.
ingrained in me that those people and they
Yeah.
were very professional about it. They just for 6 months, I would go to church every Sunday. They would look after me, very friendly, offered me all kinds of, and I was not moved, not an inch. I was just like, I would go to the temple every Tuesday and I would sit in front of the Krishna idol and I used to meditate for half an hour. And they
Mm.
wouldn't understand the idea of dhyan. They were like, okay, you're taking a nap. And I said, like, wow, fantastic, awesome. So it's incredible that we are born
Exactly.
in
That's what I
this
said.
land, and it's not a coincidence. We're all ready. And I read one of your blogs that bhakti without gyan. Yes. So please talk a bit more about that. Bhakti, the essence of bhakti, is it surrender, complete surrender, or
See,
what is
bhakti
it?
can never be, as I said, all the Abrahamic religions are highly great bhakti cults. They're all prepared to die for their
Yes.
gods.
Yes.
Hindus are not prepared to die for our gods.
Yes. Yes.
We want to live for our gods, not to die for them. but
Yes.
see what's how it has led them, because they had no jnana of what. I started with this, the understanding of that being or entity or force or consciousness which underlies everything. That understanding, that is God, not someone who sits in heaven somewhere, and you may or may not attain him at death if you're a good person here. That's a very limited concept of God, no? Very limited. So they're working on that limited concept of God. So they can never reach these heights. But they are bhakti cults, and because they are bhakti, definitely they will evolve and get it another birth. They'll get definitely. If those who are really great, good Christians or good Muslims or whatever, definitely they will evolve because of their great bhakti. But no salvation is possible without jnana, without a true understanding of what you're aiming at. If you are car and going to Haryana, if I don't know the word name, I mean the route, or the at least the final destination, how will I ever get there? I'll just be meandering here and there and all sort of things. It's the same thing. Understanding of your goal is very important. That they don't have, because of which they're fundamentalists. They think there's only one God, one way, one path, one book. Anyone who doesn't listen to that book, that God, that way and that path is condemned forever, forever. Not even for
Yes.
which God? Can you? Is that a compassionate God? It's a
Yeah.
brutal God. No, even an ordinary father will
Mm.
not condemn his child to eternal hell. So what about the Holy
Yes.
Father
Yes.
who condemns a child which if he doesn't follow him? Only that path.
Mm. Condemns
Eternal,
into
eternal,
hell,
eternal. And
becoming
anyone who
eternally
doesn't believe,
eternal
same with
hell.
Islam, anyone who doesn't believe in that and in Muhammad is a heretic. They're even more. They are allowed to kill for the name of their god. That's why all these other types of things, ISIS and so on and so forth, because they're allowed to kill. Because if you don't believe,
Mm.
he's an infidel. He doesn't deserve to live. Can you
Mm.
imagine the extent of the
Mm.
ignorance which can say such a thing about their God?
Mm.
Huh? The ignorance and such brainwashing
Mm.
from the time they're
Mm.
born. Otherwise, an ordinary human being will have
Mm.
some compassion, no? That compassion is not there. They
Mm.
become like asuras.
Mm.
What did Hiranyakashipu say?
Yes.
Same thing.
Yes.
I am God. If you don't believe
Mm.
me, I'll kill you.
Mm.
But this exactly
Yes.
what Hiranyakashipu said. If you don't accept me
Yes.
as God,
Yes.
out you go. Even if you're my child. He tried to
Mm.
kill his own son because he didn't.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, that's a wonderful
so the same.
anecdote. Yes. 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 Ravan, every asura
Ah,
who fell
that's the
eventually,
same
they
thing,
were
same thing.
all.
And they were great bhaktas,
Mm.
and
Mm.
they covers for thousands of
Yes.
years
Yes.
and got a lot of power.
Mm.
See
Yes.
the
Yes. Yes.
similarity.
Mm.
Puranas give this so beautifully, but actually that's
Hmm. And there is no Mataji. There is. I have always thought that why Bhagwan Bholenath gave
ah,
boons to freely to the
because he
asuras
was very
so
compassionate. He
freely,
was very
and
compassionate.
yes,
Yeah,
anyone who did tapasya just it doesn't
yeah,
matter. No
yeah.
judgment
But
on where you're
you see,
coming from, who you are, as long as
tapas
you
is
do
one
do
way
the
by
job.
which you can twist the arm of the of the divine. Tapas is one way which Rishis found out, by which we can actually see.
But wouldn't he know, like Bholenath or any god, who wouldn't he know that if I
Of
do
course
this,
he
give this
knows,
to Ravan,
but then
he's
that
going to.
gives rise to a play of the divine. In order to kill them, an avatar is just brought. So there's
Yes.
a play on that, and the whole of life, what is a leela, 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 leela.
Hmm.
So that play is of great enjoyment to
Yes. Yes.
the devotees. To hear those stories, how Prahlad, one small boy,
Hmm.
was able to stand against this man who was not only his father, but who was a conqueror of all the three worlds. A small boy of 7, 8 years old, he stood up
Hmm.
against him. So these are all plays
Yes.
and leelas which
Yes.
increase the bhakti of the devotee. So that's also necessary.
This is what my learning is, that when I read all these stories of boons to asuras, and then there, whether it's Mahishasur or uh, whatever, all the asurs, I thought that those who don't learn from the sins of others, they
Yeah,
continue to become asuras. So we have all these stories to learn. You know what Ravan did
exactly.
wrong, what this
Yeah.
guy did wrong, what this guy did wrong. Still, they continue to do the
So
same
it is a
mistakes.
game actually, and that one has to go through these. But by reading all these, we feel also some sort of excitement in life. How eventually truth always wins, goodness always wins, even though
Yes,
after many
yes,
many
yes.
difficulties. Even the bhakta has a lot of difficulty, no doubt. In fact, more I would say, more testing is done for the true bhakta than for other ordinary people. Asuras are not tested at all.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Asuras get
exactly.
everything easily. That's what I felt. Um, I my guru Om Swamiji. He's written a book. It's just coming out. I think it's published in US last month. It's the vision. It's about the Sagar Manthan and the coming out of Goddess Lakshmi after
Yeah.
the 16 slow verses of the Sri Suktam. And he talked a bit about it, and I found it really fascinating. And the whole idea of Sagar
Yeah,
Manthan, the
it's a
metaphoric
beautiful metaphor actually.
significance of Sagar Manthan. Yeah, so please talk a bit about it. It's really fascinating every time, because I'm a student of literature, so symbolism and metaphors, I really love the whole idea and
Yeah.
how beautifully
Actually, that
it's in
the
our
sea,
texts.
the Milky Ocean, is what the quantum physics now calls a sea of all possibilities. Quantum physics has already said that. It's a
Yes,
sea
yes,
or the ocean of all possibilities.
yes,
That they themselves have said that. Out of which, using you
yes,
see, what do we use the two this thing, asuras and devas stand for the positive and negative
yes,
forces. We
yes.
churn the mind
Hmm.
and get out of it whatever we
Yeah.
want. Out of this sea of possibilities, ocean
Hmm.
of all possibilities, all this comes. It's
And this is
happening
happening
always.
all
It's
the
happening.
time,
Of course, it's
Mataji.
happening all the
This is
time.
happening.
Yes,
There is a play
that is
of
how it's
demon
happening all
and
that.
devas
It's a
happening.
kind of a tableau or a this thing of what is happening. These are all are great, wonderful things. That's why this particular one is mentioned in all the Puranas. All Puranas have this because it's an
Yes,
absolutely clear picture
yes,
of what
yes.
happens in our minds constantly. We
Hmm, hmm. And what's the final prize? The
Amrit,
Amrita. Amrita. What's the
once
symbolism
you
of Amrita?
realize that there is a time when these become neutral. Otherwise, always one or the other will always
Hmm.
be. When it comes to settle a balance, that is when
Yes, heavy.
the Vishnu himself stands and keeps it up. And he helps both sides, mind you, not just where there
Hmm,
was. He helps both sides. At that time, when there is a balance, there's a
hmm,
balance between the two, and we are standing in the fulcrum of the seesaw,
hmm.
then the Amrit comes.
Yes.
Ah,
Wow. Wow. Is that the state? I've read on your blog. I've been reading the state
exactly,
beyond
the
the three
state beyond three
gunas that's
gunas.
mentioned in Bhagwad
Because
Geeta.
Prakriti works with the three
That's
gunas.
yes,
We are
that's
always
the
in her control. She works with three gunas.
right.
We are always, that's why Bhagavan again and again tells Arjuna, Nistray gunyo bhava, Arjuna, Nistray gunyo bhava. From the first
Yeah.
chapter, second chapter itself, he tells him
Trigunam.
this Triguna. That he at that time we don't understand. Later on, we
Mm,
can
mm.
understand what he means by that.
Yeah. That's what I loved about Bhagwad Gita in my limited reading, that the growth of
Consciousness, yeah.
Arjuna's mindset.
Same for us.
In the beginning, he doesn't understand the
Yeah.
same things. Bhagwan has said those things right in the beginning, but
Yeah.
it's how he develops as a person, he
Yeah.
starts to grasp it.
Arjuna is
And
a
that's
prototype of
so
the ordinary
beautiful.
man.
Uh,
That's why he did not choose Yudhishthira.
yes, yes,
Why did
yes,
he give it to you? Yudhishthira did not need it. He
yes,
was far way beyond that. He
yes.
chose Arjuna because he is a prototype of the, or all of us in fact. So that is Krishna Arjuna
Mm,
Samvada. It is a
mm.
dialogue between God and his man and his maker. Every chapter
Okay.
has that.
Wow. Yes, right. And that state beyond the three gunas, the
Yeah.
standing neutrally on the fulcrum, the attainment of Amrutam. How do we get there? How does an ordinary person
There is
get
no
there?
instant method. We all like we like
Instant
instant things. Yeah.
gratification.
I told you nature works very slowly,
Yes.
but very surely.
2 minute Maggie. How do
Sadhana,
we
all are
start,
sadhana, all yoga. What does yoga
Mataji? How do we?
mean? Yoga comes from the word yuj, to unite. So any type of yoga which will take you
Yes.
to closer to that divinity is can be called yoga. That's why 18 chapters are called 18
Mm.
different yogas. Starting with Arjuna's
Yes.
Vishada Yoga, the yoga of sorrow. So
Uh,
anything that can
yes.
take you closer to God is known as a yoga. So that's why we were given so many yogas, so many
Mm.
methods, so many sadhanas, so many
Mm.
infinite methods. The rishis were so anxious, they were so compassionate. And when they saw this
Mm.
humanity like this,
Mm.
somehow they wanted to lift them up. So they used
Mm.
all types of methods.
Yes.
Many methods were given to us. By choosing any one of them, we will be able
Yes.
to make it. That's why they did so many, they've given us so many different
Mm.
methods.
There's so many schools of thoughts, so many
Yes,
paddhatis, rituals,
see,
and they
Delhi is
all the
one, but there are
rivers
many routes
lead the
to
ocean.
get to Delhi, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, that's incredible. That's all inclusivity, and like you said, different devas, different gods
Yeah.
for different
Because
people.
you cannot
Based on
limit to
our
one road and
prarabdha
one path
prakriti,
and
we
one,
can choose.
it is not possible. We are all made differently. We all have different personalities. How can you
Yes,
expect all of us to follow the same path?
yes,
So many paths were given.
yeah, yes, 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 yes. Absolutely love it. Okay, so ma'am, I have one final question. That is my personal question related to my sadhana. I am not specially attracted or drawn towards any one specific East Devta. Ever since I was a kid, I was always fascinated by Krishna, and I had some wonderful experiences of with Krishna. And then I recently I've been reading and about Kali, Ma Kali, the divine goddess. But I don't personally really feel, honestly speaking, to one specific form of god or goddess or energy. But I want to be drawn to one. That there is that urge, but I want to be drawn. But I'm honestly speaking, when I do introspection, I'm
Which
not.
is your family deity?
So is it a family deity,
Okay.
Bhagwan Ram?
Bharadwaja Gotra, no? Your Bharadwaja Gotra.
So we, yes,
Vasisht, acha, acha.
Gotra is Vashisht. Vashisht Gotra. So family, my grandmother was like she was a illiterate village woman, but she lived to the age of 105, and she knew the entire Bhagwad Gita in
Oh,
Sanskrit by heart. She was such a divine woman, and I. So something has been there in our family, and when I met my, I was an atheist and agnostic person, ma'am. I was just following because my mother would say do this, do that. So out of respect, I would do that. But I was like
yeah, yeah.
almost a leftist, secular kind of a person. I was too educated. I said this is all. What's the point of this? And but when I physically experienced the presence of the first time I met my guru, and I physically in the same room, something changed right away in that moment. And the extreme overwhelming feeling of gratitude for no reason, for no reason at all. It just, tears started falling down my face, and I didn't know why I'm feeling so thankful and what's this feeling of overwhelming gratitude. And he knew, and he said it's okay. And that's was the first time I realized that there is something beyond what these five senses can perceive. And our guru, he does not prescribe, he obviously he's a Sri Vidya sadhak. He did tapas to experience the divine goddess. He does not prescribe that you do this or you do that. So he always says you have to find your own, so that's what I've been trying to find. And I ask him every day as well, but there is no inclination towards one specific Ishtadev. Maybe I'm en route. As I said, the fruit will
Well,
fall when
Guru
it's ripe.
himself is he can pay your days, you know. Because obviously a Guru has tremendous impact
That's
on
what
you. Guru Seva is one of the best methods, and which is also accepted in Sanatan Dharma. Sorry, this seems to have. Now it's okay. I didn't. Guru Seva
Yeah,
itself is supposed to be one of the
it's okay.
great, yeah. If he and also he seems to be like totally enlightened saint. So there's nothing like it. You will just attach with just a look, he can take you to the
Yes,
highest.
it's a privilege. That's why this
Ah,
vision of Tathastu came. And what I'm excited about is it'll give me an opportunity to travel and visit and find the blessings
I'm
of
not a rishi. I
rishis
haven't
like
seen.
you, Mataji.
No claims.
There is there is nothing greater than this. It's obviously because I'm an entrepreneur and I know that to make it work, it's a commercial thing. It needs commerce to make it work. So when I used to ask what's the purpose of my life, I think when I found it, it makes sense because it uses all my skills. And if somebody who wouldn't understand, who would not have the sensitivities like I have for renewed sensitivities, because I
Yeah.
was on the other side previously. I crossed over. Yes, this is one last thing that I've realized. Um, how should we, an ordinary person who's just starting up, how should they do dhyan or meditation?
Don't you have any techniques that you've been taught or
That's
something? Yeah.
I I have a specific technique. I do that, but I've realized that um, it's different for different people. Most people, some people are okay with the mantra, some people with the breath work, some people. But I ask this from everyone I meet, every guru I meet, because maybe there is somebody
There's no
for that
universal
this would work.
method like that. That's why gurus
Yes,
are so
exactly. That's
important
why I
in our
asked that.
culture. Because the guru will decide according to the
Yes,
personality of the and all the evolutionary progress of the disciple, what method is best for him, and that's why
yes.
it can't be read from a book.
Yeah, we were given. Yeah, we were given the method of, we were not like everyone was not given the same method, but something that I discovered lately after many months and years, that asana is very important for
I'm not
me.
physically stable.
And if I'm not physically stable for enough number of minutes, then the mind keeps
Technique will also.
wandering. That was a simple technique that I also taught my children.
And Patanjali himself can follow.
That at least
Yeah.
in whatever
Patanjali's
asan.
Ashtanga Yoga is very good start, because he's a master of yoga. You can start with
Yes,
that. And he
yes,
definitely,
yam
what
niyam
asanas
asan.
are meant for is only to give you a steady posture during the meditation. The whole point of learning
Yes, that is such a simple. That is a simple idea, but most people
but you should teach them
do not
that.
know
That's what
that.
you're for. That's your duty.
Yeah, I when I discovered it, and I was like, and they were like, "Oh, it's not such a big thing." I said, "It is a big thing. If you can't sit steady, you're not meditating. If you're sitting on a chair and you're moving, or you're chanting and you're moving, or you cannot sit for 15 minutes in a dead still asan, whatever
That's
asan,
why yogasanas
you
are very
won't be able
important.
to." And that simple thing, because
Yogasanas
kids,
are important. Pranayama also is equally important.
yes,
Pranayama, breath control, very important.
yes,
You have to do pranayama.
that is why what that is going to be one of the things that we want to do with Athastu is to work on these basic misconceptions. Yoga is taught around the world. There are so many apps, so many programs, and I have done so many myself. I've tried lot of apps, and but this simple idea, it's not really hammered in that without stilling your body, you cannot still your mind. It's as simple as that. They just move on to the techniques, and most people who I've seen practicing, they just
Most people
don't
who are
know,
taking up
and
yoga
it's
are not
for you.
doing it to become great meditators and become evolved. They're not doing it. They're just
Yes,
doing
they
it
for them
for
it's
body
exercise.
this thing, because it also is fashion. It's also
Yeah, they're doing
fashionable.
it for body
That's
work.
also there.
Yes, exactly, exactly. That's what I've been talking to people, and I'm telling you, this is you do, especially. I found more a lot of Americans that are friends with me. I found them to be more curious about the why than people in our country, where they're doing it for flexibility or the body work, or just another kind of exercise. While the American friends kept asking me, and one of them has asked me to ask you this question about the essence of yoga and why we should do
Yeah,
it and the
I think
right techniques
ask
of
him to start
meditation.
with the Ashtanga Yoga. He gives it very beautifully. Very important.
Yes, that's what.
Yama niyamas are very important. You can't go drugging and drinking and doing all sorts of things and then sit down suddenly and think you'll be meditate easily. You can't do it. Start with yamas and niyamas.
Yes, we had Yogacharya Krishna Prakash from Srimat Yoga. He is a center in Bangalore, and I asked him the same question. And something I learned that I would share with our viewers, and you obviously you know that he said in the eight limbs, yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dhyan, dharana, and samadhi. He asked me, okay, you know this? I said, yeah. He said, where is dhyan in this sequence? Yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dhyan. So it is right towards the end. So there is so much preparation you have to do before get to the dhyan stage. And that was enlightening for me. I was like, wow, it's yam, niyam, asan. So you until you master the asan, the yamas, the niyamas, you pranayam,
Of course
you cannot
not.
get to dhyan.
Of
You
course
cannot
not.
start with dhyan,
Patanjali was a master of
right?
yoga, master of masters of yoga. The first greatest
It's
psychologist
so
that
beautifully done.
the
It's
world has
there.
ever produced.
Yeah, so the way it's explained like this. That's why I ask every guru I talk to. I mean, because you and this is so beautiful. It's all there, like you said, ki just Patanjali's. But the book is there, but it's the interpretation from the gurus. It's not just. It's not.
Yeah,
It's
that,
not a
that is
motorcycle
yeah,
repairing
that is
manual. It
even
needs
if it is a motorcycle, it's
somebody
best
to
to learn it from a chap who is working in a
somebody who's done
He'll
it.
have a
Yes,
good tips
somebody
to
who's
give
done it
you, which
before.
this manual won't give.
Yes. I'm really happy for your time, Mataji. I've taken a lot of your time. It's been a privilege, and I hope to visit
Yeah,
the
me too.
ashram very soon. I can't wait. And let's take it forward. With your blessings, we'll be able to
Yeah,
work wonders with the Thastu. And in any way I can be part of Vanmali ashrams, I can help in any way. Radhika
yeah.
ji understands what
You
we
have you
do.
are, you
So,
are reading, getting
in
the
whatever
blogs, I
capacity,
suppose.
we
Adiveda, Substack, Substack. You're
yes,
following that every
yes,
Sunday.
we can do that.
You please get those blogs. Yeah. It'll give a lot.
Yes, we'll subscribe to that. We'll add the
Hmm.
links. We'll subscribe and we'll promote your teachings. And obviously, when we'll come over, we'll discuss uh, doing those
Yeah.
small courses, small programs to propagate your knowledge and wisdom. On that note, I would really like to
Thank
be
you.
extremely gratefully
We will
thankful
just end with the peace
for your
mantra.
time. Thanks a lot.
Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम तत्सत् थैंक यू हरि
Okay, Mataji, namaskar. Thanks a lot.